Have you ever been tricked by somebody into disclosing information or giving something because you thought that something was legitimate? That's a little bit what social engineering is a little bit about. Somebody coming in, impersonating somebody, trying to trick you to giving some sort of information up. I've experienced this myself. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. They want to do some harm. They want to steal some information. They want to bring some system down, whatever it may be. There's lots of different sorts of attacks out there. There's phishing attacks. There's DDoS attacks. There's a whole range of malwares out there. And here, this is social engineering. Before we do talk about that, check this out. Best way to stay safe when you're on the internet, when you're logging in to your websites from any of your devices, from your computer, your iPhone, your iPad, your Android device, you need to get a VPN. VPN is one of those things that is like essential to ensure that you are secure when you are online. VPN, of course, encrypts your connection. You're going to have a connection that is a lot more safe and a lot more secure and a lot harder for people to be able to snoop, and it gives you a lot more privacy. You need to get yourself a VPN. A VPN that I love, a VPN that I use all the time is NordVPN. Yes, there's a whole bunch of free ones out there, but the free ones honestly are not very good. They're not reliable. They throttle your connections and you get actually worse performance sometimes from some of these freebies. And I don't recommend them at all. So NordVPN, you got to go get it. And they've got a deal right now for my viewers where you get a bonus 3 months of NordVPN and a discount. If you sign up for 2 years, 63% off, which is awesome. So you got to go get NordVPN. Check out the link down below in the description of this video and make sure that you are safe when you are online. Have you been a culprit of social engineering? Social engineering has probably affected every single person who uses some sort of a system, who has a phone, who reads SMSs. Social engineering is quite common and used in conjunction with malware, in connection with hackers trying to get into networks. But this now uses the human element, uses psychological manipulation to trick individuals into divulging sensitive information, performing specific actions that they shouldn't be performing, or making key, major, small, medium, large decisions that benefit the attacker. The hacker is going to want to try to get something, and they're going to try to trick somebody into doing something for them. And there's a whole range of different types of social engineering attacks. They're going to be using technology to some extent. Doesn't have to be technology all the time, but it's used together with the brain, trying to trick people, trying to get good-natured people. You know, people just want to do good for the most part. They want to do good things. So they're going to try to help people, not realizing that they're being tricked into divulging specific information and doing specific things. It can be a bit scary because even a seasoned professional, a cybersecurity expert such as yourself, can be duped in because of very, very smart and cunning techniques used in social engineering. Phishing is a type of attack where the attacker is going to pose as a trustworthy person, sending some things to your email address. You go into a website. It may look like a legitimate banking website, or you'll receive an email or a message asking you to provide specific information, sensitive information, such as login credentials, financial data, going out and buying some gift cards. You've just inherited a whole bunch of money from the Prince of Namibia, and then you go and have to go do something for them to be able to get that. A little bit of a more sophisticated type of phishing attack is what's called a spear phishing attack. If you think about phishing, you got somebody fishing, trying to grab a random fish that's out there. Spear phishing, you're going directly to that fish that you want. So it's targeted to that specific person, that specific individual. And what's been happening is maybe behind the scenes, the attacker has been gathering information about that individual. So by the time that they get to you, they already know who you are. Think about, for example, when you are receiving a dodgy phone call. You receive a phone call and it just sounds like a standard call. Hi, I'm so-and-so calling from your telecom provider, and I'm telling you that you need to give me more money. Well, that's sort of like a general phishing attack. They're going to see what fish actually chew on that bait and grab a hold of it, and then eat it all up. A spear phishing would be, well, that person, that attacker, has now done a little bit of research on you. They know a little bit more about you. They know perhaps your role in the company. Commonly, A spear phishing attack is going to be targeted at somebody senior in an organization. So perhaps looking into what the CEO does, what the managing director does, looking into their personal life, how they travel, where they go. Essentially, the more convincing the argument is, the more personalized the message is, the more likely that that individual is going to fall prey to this social engineering attack. Then got pretexting. Pretexting involves creating a false pretext or a scenario to trick that person, to trick the target into divulging sensitive information or performing a specific action. So for example, an attacker may pose as a customer service person, a really nice person, and they're just asking you to provide their login details to resolve an issue. Another one is baiting. Baiting is quite common. And it's again using that element of trying to get something for free. It's using an element of bait. I'm putting the bait out there and I want that person to grab the bait because there's something good at the end of it. So perhaps like an offer or a reward. Hey, click on this, you're going to get yourself $500. So you're tricking them into providing information, sensitive information, performing a specific task because it's potentially a good outcome for you. And of course, it's a complete scam. Another type of social engineering attack is what's called a quid pro quo. A little bit like the bait, but here it's a little bit more targeted and you know sort of that it's there. So you're going to be offering somebody something in exchange for something. You know, this may be the case of somebody in your business that's a little bit disgruntled, an employee that doesn't like where they work, and they're offered or tempted to provide some information because there's a nice reward at the end of it. They're going to get something out of it themselves personally. I mean, an example of this could be, for example, a fake job opportunity. You know, in exchange for some credentials, for some information. Give me, I've got this amazing job, but we need to have some information from where you currently work for you to be able to get that job. Impersonations are one that are getting more and more common. Again, it does involve the attacker knowing a little bit more about you than they should. Essentially, they're impersonating, pretending to be someone that they're not. They're trying to gain the trust of the target, of the individual, to try to convince them to provide you sensitive information, to provide specific tasks. And this one can be a little bit scary, especially if you are not familiar with it, or especially if you are new in an organization, or if you're somebody who's maybe wanting to be promoted, or you can't smell the fishiness. So for example, a senior executive asks you to do something. You're probably going to go do it. What if they are targeting the technology team? And this is an area that is used quite a fair bit, where they're going to be targeting somebody in technology to try to do something. They're going to pose as maybe somebody senior. Hey, IT person, I need my credentials elevated. Oh, hey, IT person, can you do this for me? Or on the flip side, they could actually be impersonating IT to get something. So for example, somebody needs access to a network. They may ring up Sue and say, hey, Sue, this is Joe from the IT department. I need to install some software on your computer. And Sue, being the really nice person that she is, she may just say, oh, okay, Joe, here you go. Here's my computer. Come in and do your thing. Not realizing that they just let an intruder, a hacker, into the network to do their worst. And who knows what will happen from there. And then another example could be tailgating. And again, this is not specific to IT, but as the name suggests, you're treading on somebody's tail to try to get in. You know, you're going into a car park, the gate opens up. You got a car behind you. He doesn't want to pay. He's going to tailgate you to try to get in before the gate shuts on him so he gets in for free. And you think about this more from a physical security perspective, tailgating in, trying to get access to a premise, trying to get access into a building or into a secured area. Perhaps there's some security doors preventing somebody from going in. Somebody could tailgate the way in. It'd be as simple as holding the door for somebody to let them in without using a key card. Where you've got sometimes a woman who's pretending to be pregnant and she's actually a penetration tester. She's testing the vulnerabilities, the security of her company. And you, as a good Samaritan, you see a pregnant woman coming. Oh, can you just hold the door for me? What's going to happen? You're going to hold the door for her because she's pregnant. She needs some help. You've just let a fake attacker into the company. And this sort of stuff can happen from time to time, especially in a much bigger company when you don't actually know everybody. Because if you work in a smaller company, you probably know everybody who's there, right? But in a larger company, it's less likely you'll know everybody, so you're more likely to just be, hey, yeah, come in. And it gets even more tricky when you've got individuals who perhaps are dressing up. Maybe they've got a badge that looks legitimate. Maybe they're, if you're in a building site, they've got building site clothes on. They got a hard hat. They look legitimate. Little do you know, they're using a social engineering technique to tailgate you to try to get in and do their worst. So it's essential that you're across all of these social engineering techniques. Has this happened to you? Has this happened to somebody that you know? I wouldn't be surprised if it has happened to you. So why don't you share your story down below in the comments? I'm a tech YouTuber and I release videos every week. So why don't you stay tuned for the next video as we continue talking about all things tech. We'll see you then.